Hi, everyone. Welcome. Today I am going to be talking to you about how to maintain your green card status and avoid losing it. Okay, we're going to talk about the rights and responsibilities of a green card holder and what you can actually do as a green card holder, how you can make sure that you do not lose your green card status. Okay. And I'll also talk about how you can go from a green card holder to a citizen, which will make your life a lot easier and give you even more rights. So, that is what we're going to be talking about today. If this is your first time joining me, hi, welcome. I am Lillian Chukura. I am a US based immigration attorney, and I help my clients get green cards and citizenships for themselves and their families using the US immigration law system. Um, if you would like to schedule a time to speak with me personally about your case, go ahead and go to my website, lilylegal.com, or call my office at 508-443-1788. And as always, if you find this topic or just US immigration, green cards, knowing what's going on, understanding the process, if that's interesting to you, go ahead and subscribe to my channel because that is what we talk about over here. We talk about green cards, citizenships. Today, we're going to be focusing on how to maintain your green card and avoid losing it. All right. If you have questions, please go ahead and put them in the comments. Please, please, please. I do go back and look at those comments if you're watching on the replay. So go ahead and do that. So let's jump right in. The number one question people have is every single time they get their green card, does this mean I can travel? Right? Once you get your green card, does this mean I can travel outside of the US? Short answer, yes. Yes, yes, yes. You can now travel outside of the US and come back in. All you have to make sure you do is have your valid residency card with you. If you are traveling to another country, your residency card will not get you into that country. Okay. I just want to make that clear. If you're traveling to Puerto Rico, yes, your residency card, great. However, if you're traveling to Europe, your residency card is not the same as a US citizenship passport. It will not get you any form of visit. Okay, so you need to also make sure that whatever country you're traveling to, that you have the visa or whatever requirements they have for people traveling to the country. Okay, make sure you have your passport and whatever visa they need, because your U.S. green card will not get you into Europe without a visa. Okay, so that's the first thing. Now the next thing is how long? How long can you stay outside of the US with a green card? Okay. As a green card holder, how long can you stay outside of the US? That's the next question I got. And the answer to that is you shouldn't be outside of the US for more than 6 months, right? If you are a green card holder, all right, you have your green card, you are a permanent resident of the United States. You are telling the US government when you're applying for your green card that you want to live in the US, you want to work in the US, you want to make the US your home. That's the point of a permanent residency. And if you are doing things that makes it seem like you don't want the US to be your permanent home, that can affect your ability to keep your green card. Okay. So if you're out of the US for more than 6 months, there is a presumption that you no longer want to be a permanent resident of the United States. Okay. When you come in, Border Protection, the officers at the airport can decide, you were outside of the US for way too long. We think that you really don't want the US to be your residency anymore. So we're going to put you in immigration court to take away your residency and basically say that you have abandoned your residency. Okay, this does happen. So that's why I always encourage people, if you are going to apply for permanent residency, please, 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 please make sure you are actually a resident of the US. All right. If, however, right, if you know that you're going to be out of the US for, let's say, a year, and you know that things may happen and that year may turn into a year and a half, there is something called a reentry permit. A reentry permit will allow you to be out of the US for over a year, but not more than 2 years, right? So that if you are wrapping up, let's say you have a business in your home country and you just want to go back and wrap that up. If you have projects that you're working on, you want to wrap those up, and you know it's going to take you about a year to wrap it up, then a reentry permit is your best option, because then there's no abandonment, right? When you come through the airport, a year and a half later, Border Patrol is not going to bother you because you have a reentry permit. Now, the next thing to know is to apply for a reentry permit, you have to be in the US. You have to apply for a reentry permit before you go, unless you're willing to come back to the US for your biometrics. So, if you're applying for a reentry permit, just know you're going to have biometrics appointment. And if you're not in the US and you miss the biometrics, the application will be denied, right? So just make sure if you're applying for a reentry permit and you leave the US right after applying, that you are willing and able to come back to the US. If you have your biometrics appointment, get that done and then go. All right. And then wait for that to be approved. You do not have to be physically in the US for the reentry permit to be approved, but you do have to physically be in the US to do the biometrics appointment. All right. So that is a way that a permanent resident can be out of the US for over a year without it affecting their permanent residency. It will affect your ability to get your citizenship, right? Because you need to meet that residency requirement, but it will not affect your ability to come back into the US. It will not affect your ability to stay out of the US for a year or more. All right. You can renew your reentry permit. You can get it twice. So in aggregate, you may be able to get 4 years out of it, but just again, the goal of a permanent residency is for the US to be your permanent residence. So, just keep that in mind as you're applying for these things. But you do have that option. Um, the next thing, let's talk about some responsibilities. Okay. You, as a permanent resident, as a green card holder, you have the responsibility to file a tax return. Okay. You must file a tax return if you have a filing requirement. What does that actually mean? It means that if, let's say you weren't a permanent resident, you were a citizen, and you have a filing requirement, the IRS requires you, based on your income, based on your financial situation, to file a tax return. You must, as a green card holder, you must file a tax return. It's not optional for you. Okay, it is not optional. So make sure you go ahead and file your tax returns, because again, where does this come to bite you? When you go to apply for citizenship. Okay, when you go to apply for citizenship, one of the questions they ask is, have you filed a tax return for every year that you have been a permanent resident? And if the answer to that is a no, the officer can deny your application. So just keep that in mind. If you have a filing requirement, if you are required to file a tax return based on your income and financial situation, you must file a tax return as a permanent resident. You do not have a choice. in the matter. You have to, because when you go to apply for citizenship, that is one of the questions that the forms ask. And if you say no, the officer is going to zoom in on that question and most likely use that to say that you do not have good moral character. So really, really, if your goal is to become a citizen, file your tax returns, basically. The next responsibility is that you have to tell the US government every time that you move within 10 days of moving. Okay? You have to do a change of address with USCIS within 10 days of moving. So until you become a citizen, this is a requirement. Okay? As a green card holder, you have to do a change of address. A change of address is not only for people that have applications pending. As a permanent resident, every single time you change your address, every time you move, you have a responsibility of updating your address with USCIS within 10 days of moving. Okay? So just keep that in mind. I know this requirement, a lot of people do not follow. Okay. A lot of people just let this one slide, but just I want to make sure that you know that you have that responsibility of making sure that you change your address. Because if there's anything that's sent to you by USCIS or by immigration court, and they send it to the address they have on file, and then you come back and tell them, oh, well, I don't live there anymore. You shouldn't have, denied something, rejected something, found me, you know, this removable, anything like that. If you don't update your address, you can't use the "oh, I didn't get notice" excuse, right? Because you're supposed to update your address, and if they send it to the last address they had for you, and then you come back and tell them that you didn't get notice, well, that's on you. Unfortunately. So just make sure you update your address. Um, so the next thing is basically you have the right to live and work in the US, right? As a permanent resident, you have the right to live and work in the US. With your permanent residency, even if you lose your card, right? So let's make this clear. Even if you lose your physical permanent resident card, you are still a permanent resident. You just don't have proof of your permanent residency. That's what the card is. The card serves as proof of your permanent residency, not the permanent residency itself. So losing your card does not mean you're no longer a permanent resident. So even if you lose your card, you still have a right to live and work in the US. Now, your employer, right, if you're applying for a job or if you have a job and you need to renew, and they can ask you for proof of your permanent residency. So even though you still have a right to live and work in the US, when you lose your card, you still may need to provide proof of your residency. So that brings me to the next thing. When do you actually apply for renewal, right? And what type of renewal do you apply for? So if you lose your card, let's say you lost your wallet, your card was in your wallet, and you don't know where it is. You can't find it. You left it on a Uber somewhere. It's gone. Well, what you have to do a couple things. One, you need to report it that you lost it. Okay, you need to report to the police that you lost it. Secondly, you need to then apply for a replacement. So if you lose the card, you need to apply for a replacement. If the card expires or is about to expire, you can file to renew the card. Or you also have the option of applying for citizenship. Okay, so you have the option of renewing your green card if you have no intention of applying for citizenship, or you can apply for citizenship. So I've had people come to me, they want to renew their green card, and the conversation becomes, hey, are you interested in applying for citizenship? Is that something that interests you, or do you just want to maintain your residency only? And some of them don't even know that they have the option. So you do have the option of applying for citizenship instead of a renewal. So if you've had your green card for 5 years, so this is for almost everyone, right? Unless your spouse is a US citizen. Unless your spouse is a US citizen, if you have had your green card for 5 years, you can apply for citizenship. There are other things to keep in mind, to make sure you qualify. For example, not being outside of the US for more than 6 months, right? Or a year, and criminal records and all those things. But generally, you just need 5 years as a green card holder to qualify for citizenship. So if you meet the residency requirement and the physical presence requirement, you are good to go with your citizenship. However, if you don't meet those requirements, renew your green card. Okay. If you do not renew your green card, if you do not have physical proof of your permanent residency, traveling outside of the U.S. is going to be nearly impossible. Okay, because if you want to return to the US, you need proof that you can actually return to the US. Okay. So it's really important that if you have any travel plans, that you are applying to renew your residency or applying for citizenship. All right. Applying for residency, you will get a automatic extension. So you'll get a letter just letting you know that your residency is extended for, I believe right now they're doing 2 years of extension. So you would be able to still travel with your expired card and that notice. But please renew your green card. I'll tell you the people that are feeling this right now. So if you want to renew your driver's license and you want to get the real ID, guess what? They want a valid green card. So if your green card expired a couple years ago and now your license is expiring, you want to renew your license, you don't have any proof of your residency, you're not getting a license. And that's what a lot of people are finding, is that they're not able to renew their license because they let their green card expire. So I've been having to do some legal maneuverings to get people proof of their green card while the green card is still pending. So let's say your green card expired like 4 years ago. You file to renew it today, you're only going to get an extension of 2 years from the time it expired 4 years ago. So you still don't have any current proof of your status. So we get our clients appointments with USCIS to get a stamp in their passport to show that they are still a permanent resident, so then they can get their license and travel while the renewal is being processed. But that is something that really can affect a lot of people if you're not paying attention to when your card expires. If you have a 2-year green card, you got your green card through marriage and it's only 2 years, please do not apply for renewal of a green card. Do not apply for an I-90. That's the renewal. That is for people that have a 10-year green card. Or if you have your 2-year green card and you lost it, right? You left it in a cab somewhere and you still have like a year and a half left. You can apply for the I-90 to replace the 2 year. However, if your 2 years is about to expire, you need to apply for an I-751 because you have a 2 year, it's a conditional green card. And with a conditional green card, you need to apply to remove the condition, not to renew the card. So, 2 year green card, please apply to remove the condition. 10 year green card, apply to renew the green card. Okay? Remove condition versus renew card. Um, Next thing is we have to talk about it. Criminal records, right? The one surefire way to lose your green card is by getting arrested, getting charged, and being convicted of a crime that makes you deportable. Those are the surefire way to lose your green card. So if you have any drug charges, including marijuana charges, I know in most states they are legalized. In federal, they are still not legalized. Okay. They are not legalized federally. So if you have any convictions that have to do with that, even though it may be legal in your state and it ended up being, overturned, if they have enough evidence on the records to show that you actually had possession of the substance, they can use that against you. So please pay attention to that. Drug offenses other than possession of marijuana under 30 grams, yeah, there's no waiver. Okay, so it's really important that you, as a green card holder, stay away from criminal activity, because that can lead, actually, 9 times out of 10, that's going to lead to you losing your green card or ending up in immigration court. So really, really pay attention to that. So until you become a citizen, a lot of the things that a citizen may get away with, like for example, you go to court. In Massachusetts, we have a disposition called continuance without a finding. Basically, it's like probation, right? You get probation. They're like, yeah, you did this, but we're just going to give you probation. For a US citizen, that is a win. Okay. You get your probation, you just stay out of trouble for a year, 6 months, whatever length of time the probation is, and you move on with your life. For someone that's not a citizen, that is a conviction, right? Continuance without a finding in Massachusetts is not considered a conviction. So even if it shows up on your background check, your job is not going to really hold it against you. Sometimes it doesn't even show up on those. So, but we are dealing with federal, and for immigration purposes, those count as a conviction. So, if you do get arrested, if you do get charged with a crime as a green card holder, please, please hire a lawyer that knows or is consulting with an immigration lawyer to make sure that you do not lose your green card. Okay? Because like I said, that is the fastest way for you to lose your green card, is by having a criminal charge. So, please, 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 if you are arrested and charged with a crime, please hire a criminal attorney that knows either immigration law or is working with an immigration lawyer to make sure that whatever plea deal that you take, or whatever charges, that they are knowing how that's going to affect you in your immigration status. Because I have seen people plead guilty to things and not know, right? Not understand how that's going to affect their immigration status. So if you are not a citizen and you're in criminal court, your immigration status should be the number one thing in your mind, because however that case goes, it can affect your ability to become a citizen or your ability to even keep your green card, period. Okay, so that's if you want to become a citizen, you may want to just stay away from everything. If you do not want to lose your green card, please don't get convicted of anything. Thank you. Um, and let me just see. Yeah, that is all I have for you today. Again, I'm just going to run through these really quickly. You have the responsibility to file a tax return. You have the responsibility of living in the US. And if you're going to be out of the US for 6 months or more, you better maintain a residence in the US. If you're going to be out of the US for a year or more, you should be applying for a reentry permit so that you wouldn't have an issue at the airport with Border Patrol so that they can actually let you in without an issue. You have the right to apply for citizenship within 5 years of having your green card, or 3 years if you got your green card through marriage and you are still married to a US citizen. You have the responsibility of updating your address every single time you move within 10 days of moving. So even though you don't have a pending application, you still have to update USCIS with your current address. You have the right to renew your green card. Um, if you have a 2-year green card, you should be applying to remove the condition. If you have a 10-year green card, you will be applying to renew the card. So it's the difference between the form I-751 for removal of condition versus the I-90 for renewal of permanent residency card. You have the right to live and work in the US. Even if you lose your card, even if your card expires, you are still a permanent resident of the United States. Your card is only proof of that residency. Your employer most likely would want proof of your residency. If you are applying to renew your license, your state ID, just know they're going to want a valid green card because I've seen it happen. So please renew your green card so that you can get, so that when it's time to renew your license, you are not stuck. Okay, we're not rushing to get you things so that you're not losing your job. I've seen that happen too, where the person's job requires driving, and because they didn't renew their green card, they weren't able to renew their license, and they were literally about to lose their job because of it. But we were able to get them proof of their status and be able to maintain, to renew their license. So really pay attention to when it expires and make sure that you are renewing it so that you can always have proof of your status. That's it. That is all I have for you today. If you have any questions, as always, put them in the comments. If you found this video helpful, please let me know also. If there's any topic you want me to cover, go ahead and put it in the comments. I am always stalking the comments to find new topics to cover for you all. So please go ahead and tell me what topic you want to know about, and I will gladly cover that in a future video. If you found this helpful, if you want to learn more about US immigration, go ahead and subscribe to my channel, like this video, share this video. And if you want to actually know if you qualify, if a family member qualifies for a green card or citizenship, please feel free to reach out. You can do that by going to my website, lilylegal.com, or calling my office at 508-443-1788, where we can schedule a strategy session and be able to tell you what you qualify for. All right. So that is all I have for you today. Once again, I am Lillian Chukura. I am the owner and attorney at Lily Legal, where we do immigration law and we do it well. Bye.